Hello, wine friend. Welcome back to the Wine Educate podcast, where we explore WSET education, study tips, and practical advice for wine enthusiasts and professionals. This is episode 26. I'm your host, Joanne Close, and we are going to continue on with our lessons from the Vineyard that we started in episode 25. This time we're focusing on vinification at Chateau Campbells, which is where we were the first week of March. They do everything, right? They grow their own grapes, harvest their own grapes, and they vinify their own grapes. So we went into the winery where all the action happens. And as soon as you walk in, the temperature just automatically drops. It's this lovely feeling of nice and cool. And there's sort of a central row in the middle, and on either side, you have these massive cement tanks. When we talk about fermentation vessels, divide them into inert vessels, meaning vessels that do not let in any oxygen, and the other vessels that do, like oak barrels. But these are cement tanks, and they are epoxy lined. So they are inert vessels. There's sort of like two layers. So you have the ground level, and if you take one of those metal silver spiral staircases on up to the top part of the winery, you have a catwalk that goes around, and you can access the top of each of these large tanks. There's like a hatch that opens up. On the ceiling, there is this mechanism that is on a rail, like it's like on a track, and it's actually used to go into the tank and punch down the cap. So this way, it doesn't have to be done manually, and they've really got a lot of control over just how rigorous or gentle they want this process to be. They can just move it along the track to be above the tank that they need to punch down, and in it goes, and it does its job, and then it can bring it on over to the next tank, which is very efficient. When I'm there during harvest, I get to see that in action, which is really a lot of fun. So for our essay question, give 4 processes for increasing extraction during fermentation for red wines. So for this purpose, we're going to list them. And I just mentioned one, right? The punching down. And then there's also the pumping over. So you're taking the must from the bottom and you're running it over, like using a hose pipe. And you're pumping it over onto the top of the cap. There's rack and return, which is where you're removing all the wine and then putting it back. And then there's the rotary fermenters. So these are pretty rigorous, maybe used for rapid extraction, say for port, and not the most delicate of things. These are all used to extract more tannin and color during the fermentation process. Okay, lesson 2. So we have this barrel room at Campbell's, and it's a lovely place to be, especially in the summertime, because it's probably the coolest spot on the vineyard, and it's really quiet and sort of dimly lit, and they've got these nice little light blue tracking lights around, so it's got this beautiful feeling to it, and it smells gorgeous. Every time you go into the room, you just hit with all those beautiful aromas from the oak. And Hillary, one of the women on the trip, said she wished she could bottle it up and wear it like as a perfume. Ode to oak. We use many different types of oak barrels. There's so many different choices that can go into the selection of the barrels. There's all these different forests throughout France, throughout the world, where you can source the oak from, and then the size of the barrel and the the toast level of the barrel, and so on and so forth. So the strategy for Campbell's Ends is to have a nice variety. So they buy different barrels made from different oak from different forests, and it ends up adding a lot of really pretty complexity to the wines. They have first, second, and third year old barrels, and as would make sense, they put the very best wine, the Julius, in the first year barrels, and then maybe the Lagarrigue, and so on and so forth in the barrels as they get a bit older. And then when they're done with the barrels, they sell them. Because a local vinegar maker takes the barrels and gives them a new life. I could literally go on and on about barrels for a very long time, but I'm going to stop here and pose an essay question for you. Name 2 ways aging a wine in barrels can affect the wine. So what 2 things does it do to the wine? Well, it can soften the tannins through the oxidation, right? Because our barrels are not inert. They let in a little bit of oxygen. It can also add oak aromas and flavors of cedar, spice, smoke, wood. I could go on and on. So it can do those 2 things when you ferment and or age wine in a barrel. All right, lesson 3. Now this is just pure serendipity. I have no idea when the bottling van will be at the vineyard. Whenever I go visit, it's one of my first questions I ask. I'm like, are we going to be bottling this week? And every time I see that 18-wheeler pull up, it's like Christmas morning. I don't know why. I find it so fascinating, but I just love the bottling process. So what do I mean by this? The wine is finished. It needs to be put into a bottle. Some larger wineries may have their own bottling line. So Campbell's Ends is a medium-sized vineyard. We don't have the need to have our own bottling line. We don't make enough wine to justify buying all that equipment. So we do the next best thing, and we hire a remote bottling company to come to the vineyard. So this is literally an 18-wheeler, and it pulls up, and you take a hose pipe. There's a better word for it. I can't think of it at the moment. Attached to one of the tanks of which the wine is ready to be bottled, and then you attach it to the bottling line. And inside the bottling line, I always ask if I can go in. They're very kind to me. They're very patient with me, but I love to go into the bottling van. It's like Willy Wonka in there, and you can see all the bottles flipping around and the capsules being put on and the wine being filled up. So you have the hose that goes into one end, and then at the other end, they are taking out the bottles that have been labeled, put the corks in, put the capsules on. They're putting them into the cases and stacking the pallet. So everything happens inside of this magical van. So it just so happened that there was a bottling during this boot camp, which was great fun. And my group got to go up and check it out, and the guys let them on the bottling line, and they got to see things up close. It was just a really interesting experience. So here is my essay question. What are the advantages of using a screw cap over a cork for a rosé wine? They just happen to be bottling the rosé that day. Possible answer, screw caps do not taint the wine, right? If you use a screw cap, you're not going to run the risk of having a cork that has TCA that can give that moldy, damp smell to the wine. Also, screw caps preserve the aromatic fruit flavors better than a cork can. If you are bottling an aromatic wine or a wine that really is meant to be consumed within 6 to 9 months, well, you should put a screw cap on it. So I'm pro screw cap. Why not? It keeps the wine fresh, and then in a pinch, if you're on your picnic or on your boat, I don't know, you don't need a wine key to open it. All right, so those are my 3 lessons from the vineyard. I could go on, but I'll save some more for another day. As I mentioned, the next level 3 bootcamp dates have been posted. We're going to be there April 6th to April 11th. I have 12 spots available. You can check out the full information on the website, wineeducate.com, or I do have a link in the show notes that you can check out. As always, if you have a question, you can email me, Joanne, JOANNE, @wineeducate.com. Any questions about an upcoming class or this trip, I'm very happy to answer. Okay, you guys have a lovely weekend. I will talk to you later.